Stonehenge, wonder of the ancient world, engineering masterpiece, World Heritage Site, perhaps the best known prehistoric structure to be found anywhere. And what was it for? Was it a temple, or a tribute to the dead, or a Neolithic hospital, or an astronomical observatory? Whatever it was magnificent, designed by master mathematicians, built by brilliant engineers, and supported by a well-organized society. But hang on a moment. Isn't it time maybe to set the hype and the mythology to one side and to ask ourselves some straight questions about Stonehenge? First, is it really all that magnificent? Well, it is impressive when you are close, but from a distance, it is an innocuous collection of stones on a broad hillside, invisible until you are almost on top of it. It was clearly not built to be spectacular, and let's be honest, it is actually a tumble-down old ruin. Second, was it designed and constructed by men who were technical geniuses? Actually, the alignments and dimensions of stones, the spaces between pillars, the curvature of the circles, and the placing of the lintels on the uprights are all a good deal less perfect than we are led to believe, and few of the stones or pits are precisely where they should be. Third, were the stones carefully selected? Maybe a dozen of the stones are beautiful to look at and are fit for purpose, but the rest make up a motley collection of irregular, lumpy, broken and fractured, pitted stones that were clearly just gathered in to make up the numbers. The Sarsens are supposed to have been hauled from the northern edge of Salisbury Plain, but there's no evidence to support that thesis, and indeed these big stones seem to have come from different localities near the monument. As for the blue stones, they are supposed to have been hauled from Carnminy in West Wales, but there is no evidence for that either, and indeed we now know that these smaller stones have come from at least 20 different locations. They must have come from a collection of glacial erratics not far from Stonehenge. Finally, what about stone numbers? There are supposed to be 80 blue stones and 80 Sarsens at Stonehenge. So how many stones are there? Well, there are 43 blue stones and 50 Sarsens, so far as we know. That means that no less than 67 stones are missing. Geophysical studies show that they are not present under the turf either, and neither are their sockets. We know that in recent centuries, Stonehenge was used as a quarry by local people, but 67 large monoliths of stone cannot have been entirely removed as a result of their activities. There's only one conclusion to be drawn. The stones were never there in the first place. Only about 50% of the stone monument at Stonehenge has ever been excavated. Pillars and lintels of Sarsen stone and freestanding blue stones are assumed to have been filling in the gaps, but that assumption is based once again on wishful thinking, not field evidence. So where have all these models of the immaculate Stonehenge come from? Well, they've come from archaeologists and others who want Stonehenge to be a grand icon and a prehistoric masterpiece. They have simply imagined a structure that never existed. The builders of Stonehenge may well have had a grand design, and we have to admire their sheer audacity, but over centuries of work and under many leaders, they appear to have simply dithered. One chieftain wanted one thing, and the next wanted something else. The stones were moved from one setting to another, with pits or sockets intersecting as stones were adjusted, repositioned, or simply thrown away. There is not a single early illustration that shows Stonehenge complete. Even the oldest paintings and drawings show a chaotic ruin with almost half of the stones missing. We can draw only one conclusion from all these observations. What may have been a very grand design proved ultimately to have been beyond the technical capacities of the builders. They probably ran out of energy and they ran out of stone. The great building project ended up as a poorly constructed shambles. Stonehenge was never completed.